'Tis the real beginning of my life as a young lady of America. Of America.
So, it's been officially confirmed that Rachel Zegler is going to be playing the role of Eva Peron in the upcoming Jamie Lloyd-directed revival of EVITA in the West End.
She didn't walk out mid-rehearsal. According to multiple insiders, Rachel Zegler was escorted out of the theater by security, right in front of the entire cast, who stood frozen in disbelief. This alleged backstage meltdown has gone viral after a leaked video from inside one of the final rehearsals for the EVITA revival surfaced online.
Idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea.
A moment so chaotic, so surreal, it's now making headlines far beyond the theater world. The footage, captured by a venue security camera, shows Zegler pacing anxiously near the front of the stage. The atmosphere is tense. You can sense something is off. Crew members are grouped in the wings, clearly on edge. Then, from off-camera, someone gives a command. Within seconds, 2 security guards move in, flanking Zegler from both sides. She steps back, startled. There's a short, mostly inaudible exchange, and then they walk her off stage. Not violently, not aggressively, but definitely not voluntarily.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The entire rehearsal grinds to a halt. The music stops, no one moves, and just like that, she's gone. As she exited, people tried calling out to her, hoping for some acknowledgement, but she didn't stop. She didn't look back. Multiple cast members have since confirmed it wasn't a stunt. This wasn't part of the script. It was a real incident, a breakdown that followed what many now describe as weeks of rising tension and behind-the-scenes drama between Zegler and the show's creative team.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
One source said the entire cast had been walking on eggshells for weeks, and that day everything finally cracked. So how did it reach this point? Rachel Zegler wasn't just stepping into a role, she was supposed to own it. Taking on the legendary character of Eva Peron was set to be one of the most anticipated stage debuts in years. It had the potential to revive her career, especially after the backlash from Snow White and Shazam. But instead of a triumphant return, it spiraled into walkouts, rumors of power struggles, and now an alleged forced removal by security.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
This wasn't just a bad rehearsal, it was a professional collapse. And that footage? It's only the beginning. Behind the curtain, the full story of what happened with Zegler's EVITA journey is far messier than anyone expected. The warning signs were there. The vague interviews, cryptic social media posts, disappearing behind-the-scenes content, but no one could have predicted this level of implosion, not even her harshest critics. So how did an actress once seen as the future of Hollywood end up being walked out of her own rehearsal?
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion, but the reality is she's just not stable.
To understand that, we need to go back to the beginning, a dream role and a sudden, brutal unraveling. Not long ago, Zegler was publicly gushing about EVITA. She called the casting a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a tribute to her culture and the strength of iconic women. She posted glowing selfies from the rehearsal room. The press ran with it. Her fans celebrated. It was starting to look like the redemption arc she desperately needed. But something changed. Fast. The cheerful posts stopped. The excitement faded. In their place came vague, emotional captions and long silences. Then came the behind-the-scenes whispers, reports that Zegler had started calling the production toxic, emotionally harmful, and creatively stifling. Screenshots of private messages leaked, where she allegedly described the environment as controlling and ego-driven. Sources say those concerns didn't show up until rehearsals started falling apart. So what happened? Some insiders believed the problem wasn't the environment, it was the pressure, the realization that EVITA wasn't going to revolve entirely around her. That it was a fast-paced ensemble production that didn't allow for her usual working style. And when cracks started showing, Zegler allegedly began shifting the narrative. Her team stopped promoting the show, comments disappeared from old posts, and soon, any buzz around her role became wrapped in controversy. To her fans, she was standing up for herself in a harsh industry. But to those on the inside, this felt all too familiar. This wasn't the first time Rachel had praised a project publicly, only to denounce it when things went wrong. We saw it with Snow White, we saw it with Shazam, and now it's happening again with EVITA. What was supposed to be a bold return to form has now become yet another cautionary chapter in her career. A story of great expectations, intense pressure, and a dramatic fall from grace. One that ended not with a standing ovation but with security walking her out the door. But this time, it wasn't just about social media outrage or bad press. This time, the fallout went far deeper. Real people, from castmates to crew to producers, were being pulled into the eye of the storm. And behind closed doors, the team was already bracing for a much bigger implosion. Because if the rumors swirling backstage were even half true, Rachel Zegler wasn't just having a rough patch. From the very first day of rehearsals, something just felt off. Not chaotic, not explosive, just an eerie stillness, like everyone was tiptoeing around the inevitable. And according to multiple insiders, that tension had a gravitational pull, and its center was always Zegler. Crew members were the first to notice the pattern. Rachel would often show up late, never by hours, sometimes only minutes, but always with a reason. She needed space to journal. She was feeling emotionally drained. She just needed a few more moments to center herself. Alone, these seemed trivial. But in a production as high stakes as EVITA, every tick of the clock counts. Every delay sends ripples through the whole machine. But it wasn't the tardiness that truly rattled the team. It was the pushback. Zegler reportedly didn't just perform. She questioned, she challenged blocking, she pushed back on line readings. She allegedly even altered choreography, without clearance. Director Jamie Lloyd, known for his visionary touch and collaborative approach, found himself increasingly focused on managing Zegler's moods instead of refining scenes. And the cast? They began adapting, not creatively but defensively. Some requested to switch sides of the stage. Others asked for audio adjustments to balance out Zegler's impromptu vocal riffs, which were said to overpower the ensemble. The issue? Lighting. The shadows were wrong, the dress didn't move right, the tone wasn't flattering. She allegedly refused to continue until it was changed. Technicians scrambled, the director reportedly walked out, and when the chaos settled, Zegler was gone. No goodbye, no warning, just vanished mid-rehearsal. And for many, that was the moment they stopped seeing this as artistic friction. It was now a countdown to collapse. What happened next didn't make headlines, but it hit harder than any viral moment. Zegler didn't return to the rehearsal. Not that day, not the next. No call, no email, no message, just silence. And in a high-profile, tightly scheduled show like EVITA, that kind of disappearance speaks volumes. People waited around, unsure if it was a temporary breather, a creative pause, or something much more serious. But as the hours dragged on, confusion turned into something else. Disbelief. Trust had been shattered. In theater, the relationship between a director and their lead is sacred. It's the engine of the entire performance. When that bond breaks, the entire system starts to crumble. Behind the scenes, meetings ramped up, but these weren't artistic discussions. These were damage control briefings. Legal consultants and producers began dissecting contracts. Could she be replaced this late? Was recasting even feasible? Could the production survive the upheaval? One producer reportedly asked for a full log of every disruption tied to Zegler's name. Another quietly reached out to casting agents. Understudy rehearsals were discreetly accelerated. Everyone was bracing for impact, and this time, no one was even surprised. The space turned ice cold. The camaraderie vanished. Cast members stopped joking on breaks. Morale plummeted. People showed up, did what was required, and left, silently hoping tomorrow's rehearsal wouldn't implode. But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't a revival anymore. It was a slow-motion implosion, and the ripple effect didn't stay inside the theater walls for long. In the world of live performance, especially the West End, news spreads fast. Whispered texts turned into quiet conversations. First among casting directors, then among agents, then producers. And what they were hearing wasn't about drama, it was about risk. More and more creatives began quietly flagging Zegler, not because she lacked talent. No one questioned her ability to act, sing, or perform, but because of the storm that seemed to follow her wherever she went. Yes, Rachel Zegler's name is still buzzing, but it no longer screams breakout star. It now comes with a pause, a raised eyebrow, a question mark. And for someone who built her public image around emotional vulnerability and fierce authenticity, that kind of shift in narrative could be career-defining. But this time, the stakes are different. The critiques aren't coming from trolls or clickbait blogs. They're coming from lighting techs, vocal directors, producers, from inside the house. And if Rachel Zegler can't find a way to rebuild those internal bridges, this might be more than just a rough chapter. It might be the beginning of a much harder rewrite.